In today's video, I want to give you something a little bit different. I want to talk about how more or less to build a balanced build. We sort of talked about this in the full high-end gear set video, a little bit talking about balance, but I've got a couple questions asking about firearm stamina, electronics, and pretty much the pure basics. How do these things affect your character? So as it stands right now, there is this gold standard in the division where everyone is relying on this fabled DPS, and that it has to be above 180k or 200k or above this high milestone so that your penis in game is larger. And I just want to go ahead and shoot this down right away. I think DPS is an incredibly valid way to look at how powerful your character is, but it doesn't say anything about how versatile your character can be. Now that's a lot of words there, and it's sort of, again, a dick joke. I apologize, but I want to give you a good idea that DPS is not everything, and you shouldn't judge your entire experience on how powerful you are based solely upon it. With that in mind, I want to give you a good idea on how you can have decently high DPS, still have quality stamina, and have some high skill power. Now you're probably asking, you're probably really questioning this. We're like, well, master of all, or what is it, jack of all trades, master of none, or some shit like that. And I would say, to an extent, you are absolutely correct. If you want to be this balanced build 100%, you may not excel as much as someone who purely goes into any of the three varying trees. And that is very, very true, and I can't argue with that. But what I'm trying to present is that the flip side is that I, as a player, feel more powerful in certain situations because I have more tools in my tool shed, right? I myself act like a tool most of the time. It only makes sense for me to have a varying accompaniment of extra tools that I can have. There's a tool joke there, which again is another dick joke. Anyway, going back into it, the best build that I can present to you is looking at these three stats. Now, I'm going to shoot electronics down right away, but before you get mad at me by saying, hey, electronics is actually pretty good, I'm going to say that skill power is fantastic. Electronics, on the other hand, sucks major bad. It's not good, because the electronic milestones that you find on talents, at least for the weapons, are not particularly very useful. There are a couple, of course. I'm going pretty far and beyond calling them all bad. There are definitely a couple that are pretty good. Meticulous is one of those. Cool-headed is another one of those. The cool-headed you can find in the Caduceus. That requires electronic seal trait. Those are particularly very useful, but the ones that people really want to have are deadly and brutal. Deadly is critical hit damage, brutal is headshot damage, and both of those are determined on firearms and stamina. One of them is determined just on firearms, the other one is firearm stamina. So the idea here is that if you're going to be shooting a gun for, I'd say, over 80% of your entire playtime in the division, you want your primary abilities to be relatively high. And with that being said, you want your firearms and hence your DPS to be as high as possible, because that's what you're doing a majority of the time. Your gun does not have a cooldown besides obviously reloading and maybe aiming and stuff like that. But your skills have set cooldowns. But this is all affected not by your electronics, but by your skill power. So as it stands, I'll give you a brief run through of the three, and then I'll link in a very awesome Reddit article from horriblepun_intended. This guy put this together, and I think this is very useful. This is what I've been using so far as the basis for this video. The basically, you have firearms, and every single 1 point of firearm increases your damage value by 1% point. Every single point of stamina increases your health pool by 30 HP. And every single point in electronics increases your electronic skill power, or spell power, depending on where you come from, by 10 points. So the idea here is that all of these are this is your cake, and you want to build a cake that has all three awesome flavors, but maybe some of you like vanilla a little bit more than you like chocolate, or some of you like strawberry more than you like chocolate and vanilla, and you just want to make a strawberry cake and fuck chocolate and vanilla. But you can't do that, unfortunately, because what will happen is if you sacrifice one of your skills, say strawberry in this case, you're gonna have a cake that just tastes like vanilla and chocolate. And while as cool as that is, you want some strawberry in your life. Now, none of the metaphors may have gone a little too far overboard on that end, but I want to show you a build that I've been going towards so far. Give you sort of it on screen right now. And the idea with this build is to keep my DPS relatively high. On my primary vector, I sit around like 140, 120, which is relatively high. On the sniper that I have, it's like 211k, but that is, I don't think that's very accurate. Again, it's theoretical damage that you're going to be doing every single second. It's not 100% accurate. And then, of course, stamina sits around 70k, give or take. I want it to be in the 50 to 60 to 70k range. That's a big gap of about 20k health. I'll tell you a little bit why about that. And then the next point, and then finally I have skill power. And skill power, I want to be above 20k or at 20k. Now, the reason I want my health to be at a percentage is because once you get skill power to a certain percentage point, above 20k, you can effectively one-shot players with the BFB mod on the sticky bomb with a couple sticky bomb damage bonuses that you can find in the skill attributes on some of your gear. Now, that's a whole lot of garble right there. I'll have to break it down in another video, but the idea here is you can effectively build out a very high DPS firearm build, a very good quality, healthy type character with more than 50k health, you're not a glass cannon, and have high skill power while still remaining to be incredibly effective on the field with certain skills. A good example is the overheal mod on the first aid kit will heal me up pretty much to over past full, like a bar, 2 bars, give or take, when I'm at one final bar left. And that's basically a full heal, and it's basically always when I put it on, which to me is incredibly useful. It's basically a full heal, and you get it back at a certain point. Now, the great thing about skill power is that skill power directly affects your skill cooldowns, how powerful they are, etc. Electronics only gives you the skill power. So you may be asking, how do you get the high skill power? Well, on your gear rolls, some of the gear rolls like chest piece, mask, backpacks, etc. will have the ability to roll into the minor attributes or major attributes section plus X percentage of skill power, plus X amount of skill power. And these values are incredibly high, to the point where if you get a firearm backpack, you can roll plus 4,000 skill power, which is relatively saying you're getting an extra 400 electronics without actually getting the electronics. The scaling for this is awesome. It's so much better than the scaling for armor or the scaling for stamina that I would fully recommend, honestly, just getting skill power in your major attributes section if you're not, say, going for critical hit chance or maybe just resistance to elites or more damage to elites, something like that. You have to do some trade-offs here and there, but the idea moving forward is that if you want to be relatively powerful without investing into electronics and still be a very good damage dealing character on both your firearm side and, of course, with your skill power side while keeping your health relatively high, this is the best way to do it as a character. Invest into skill power on your major attributes section of gear, not into electronics. And of course, this only applies if you do not value the electronic milestones found in talents on certain weapons. Personally, myself, I don't. There's only a couple there that I think are really useful. The rest of them are all firearm stamina. So you really do have to kind of sort of pick and choose what you want. Now, the follow-up question to this before I get out of it is, what is the best way to farm out gear? Simple, best way to do it is to farm out challenge missions. Once you have enough Phoenix credits, you want to buy blueprints from the special gear vendor. He's going to sell mostly everything you need. The final items that you will need will require DZ50, and you have to go up into the Dark Zone 06 safe house storeroom to pick up the remaining blueprints that you need to fill out your gear. Again, I'll show you my gear set here in the final of the video so you can get a good idea of how I built my character. I'm still not done. I need to perfect it. I'm going for the best build possible with keeping skill power relatively high without losing stamina, and of course trying to keep DPS. I'm trying to do all three. It's very difficult, but I think I'm getting very close to figuring it out. Remember, I've been saying that my BFB mod has been hitting players which I assume have 0 exotic damage resilience for about 60k. So if you're a player without 50k health, that is a one-shot. I've been one-shotted by players doing this. That thing is nasty, so keep that in mind. Skill power is awesome. Electronics, in my opinion, not so much. But as always, let me know how you guys are building out your character. Do you see some flaws in my character build? Or do you like what I'm doing? Or do you think maybe I can make a couple changes here and there? Please tell me. You guys are beautiful people, and I'll see you in the next video. Sun and silver wings caressing the sky, into the light.
me who stands on the ground